Oh.
Hi, Avish. How are you?
Hi, Sid. How you doing?
Great, man. It's good to have our second Instagram chat. And yeah, the cricket has been interesting, especially from our side. South Africa against Pakistan. And if I look at the score lines here, we made 220 and Pakistan 378. Then we made 245. And then Pakistan had a total to chase of 90 runs and they won by 7 wickets. So, what was your overall thoughts on that?
Look, Sid, you're not going to win a test match scoring 220 and 245. I'm sorry, there's something fundamentally wrong there. Um,
Mm, mm,
the issue I have here, is the six batters. Uh, you got the middle order that fires on some
mm.
days, and then you got the top order that fires on some days. But they both don't fire together. So that's the real issue that I have here. And if you look at the side in the first test, it seems a bit disjointed.
Mm,
It seems a
mm,
bit disjointed. If I look at the way they, even the way that they fielded, in the first innings uh, against Pakistan, after having them on the ropes at 27 for four,
mm,
um,
mm.
I think you if you got to scrutinize it, you got to say that 220 in the first inning was just not good enough. I mean, let
Yeah,
alone test matches anywhere else in the world. You're not going to win a test match in Asia scoring 220 in the first innings.
yeah.
So, look, the problem I have here is there seems to be an issue with playing spin. Um, is there a game plan? There was some improvements that we saw in the second innings, but it wasn't enough. You know, if this team has a real problem with playing spin, is there a clear game plan?
Hmm.
If game plan, who's the player that leading that game plan? Because I don't really see it
Yeah,
happening. Because it's been happening for a while now. Even if you look at those shots, even if you look at the shot that Quinny played, I mean,
yeah,
going hard at the ball, and the ball was turning off the outside off stump and out of the rough. So
yeah,
going hard, and if you look at some of those tactics that they deployed in that second innings after the wicket of Rassi, uh, I personally think they should have brought in a night watchman, but they didn't do that. They brought in Faf, and that exposed him quite a bit to that turning ball, and he lost his wicket. Uh, you know, they were 158 behind after the first innings, and it's one thing, knocking off the deficit, all good, but what was the game plan afterwards? Was
yeah,
there a talk in the dressing room as to how many runs that we want to set them, in the fourth innings? And I think after they took the lead, they kind of lost their way there. They kind of lost their
yeah,
way quite a bit
yeah,
because I don't think they were looking at setting a target because the batsmen that were coming in, what was the game plan? Do we play the way Rassi and Aiden played, or do we go back into our shell? Because it didn't seem like there was a clear game plan thereafter once they took the lead.
yeah. I think to me, right, on that pitch, I had this thinking in my head, I had this strategy in my head that all they had to do was that because the game was going fairly fast, they were batting on the second or third day. If they had just batted like 150 overs, getting 2.5 runs and over, they would have set Pakistan a real decent total on that pitch. And I felt that we could have had this match. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Look, Rassi, it didn't go out at the right time. And
Yeah,
it wasn't a good time that he lost his wicket. But these things happen sometimes, and I think there was a problem with the dressing room because once Faf went out, I think there was a bit of a shockwave going through that dressing room. And there was no clear plan thereafter on how to combat the spin. I mean, we all know spin was going to be a threat on that weekend, and it proved to be the case. But there was no game plan thereafter as to how to combat the spin. You know, there were too many batters that were playing with hard hands. You know, didn't actually get to the pitch of the ball. But you know, very disappointing because those two batsmen really set a good foundation, set a good platform, but the rest of the batters didn't take it through. So yeah, that was actually disappointing to see because, you know, if I look at that lead, 150 that Pakistan, you know, scored their first innings.
Yeah.
There was massive. That was massive on that wicket because that wicket was obviously deteriorating. But you know, you had 1.5 days thereafter. I mean, this game ended in 3.5 days. Let's be honest, 3.5 days. This test match was over. So if I look at the tail enders that Pakistan had in their first innings and the runs they scored, and I compare it to the SA tail enders, there was such a gulf, you know, in the runs. And even that last wicket partnership between Yasir Shah and Ali that yielded 55 runs. You know, that hurt them. That really hurt them in that second innings. Because, I mean, you know, you take away that and you take away that no ball that Keshav bowled, you're probably looking at an 80-run. You probably look at an 80-run lead. So if you add another 200 to that, you're looking at setting them like a score of, you know, around about the region of, you know, 160, 170, which I think would have been a bit tricky, as opposed to the 80, 88, which was never ever going to be enough. I mean, I don't care which bowler you have in your arsenal, that's never going to be enough. So yeah, I mean, there's got to be a proper game plan as to how to combat the spinners, and there has to be another game plan as to how to dislodge the tail, because I think the Pakistan innings, the tail were too much, you know, too much for their liking, and too many runs scored after having them on the ropes. As I say, 27 for 4.
Yeah, I was just thinking to myself when we had this chat about our predictions for the series, and the reasons why I picked Pakistan along with the draw was because I felt that because they're playing in front of the home crowd and they haven't played there so long, motivation would be there. And also, now that I think about it, this guy far forward, I mean, even though his technique may not be the most, let's say, eye-catching, but it does the job. So I think, but then obviously not to take anything away from him, but if he plays overseas, that technique might be examined more, but that's another chat for another day. But yeah, I mean, it was, all I got to say is that we got to really up our game for the next match. Otherwise, it'll be pretty much what I predicted.
Yeah, look, let's not take anything away from Pakistan. I mean, they outplayed them in all 3 departments. I mean, from day one. I think they won a few sessions, SA, but I mean, you know, as a whole, over 3.5 days, I mean, they were completely outplayed in all departments, and even the fielding. I mean, you don't see a Pakistan side outfielding a South African side, you know, very often, and that's exactly what happened. You don't see it. I mean, the Proteas are known to be very athletic on the field, not giving too much away, but we didn't see that happening. And you know, getting back to Forward's innings, you know, I thought it was a masterclass on that wicket. I mean, he just showed the other batters how to, you know, compile an innings. He started off slowly, which, you know, which was the right game plan, and then he grew into his innings. And you know, a guy, what I can't really understand is this guy. You look at his talent now, and he was left out of the side for 10 years. You know, he was in the wilderness for 10 years playing first-class cricket. Yeah. And then he comes in.
In first-class cricket,
The one thing when you look at him, he seems so mature at the crease. He knows his game. He knows his scoring areas. And if you look at the way he played the two spinners, Linda and Maharaj, he just milked them. Whenever there was a bad ball, dished out, that ball went to the boundary, and it was very, very calculated in the way he paced his innings. And his innings, he just anchored that entire batting lineup right towards the end. And by the time he went out, that deficit was knocked off, and there was already a lead, and Pakistan just grew from there, and there was another 100 scored. So I think that's the confidence that he obviously that spread through the dressing room while he was batting. He seemed so in control and so assured. And getting back to his technique, we've seen unorthodox techniques in the past with Chandra Paul from the Windies. These guys are nuggety characters, very, very gritty players, and difficult to dislodge because they know their strengths. And if you look at his technique, it's what you make of it. But once the ball is actually delivered, he gets in line quite well. So he's able to combat whatever movement there is. And to be fair, there wasn't much movement in that wicket. It wasn't a good wicket for the fast bowlers. Even if you banged in, you really banged it in there. You bent your back. You wasn't really getting much purchase. I think KG, he tried his best with that new ball. He had one good hour, and thereafter, once the ball gets soft, it becomes really, really difficult, and that's where the spinners come into the game. And I think that's ultimately the match was won and lost. The way the Proteas played spin in the fourth in that third innings, just proved everything as to who was going to come out on top here. And you give credit to the new guy as well. The other debutant, Ali, I think he bowls superbly. Very good lines, and even when they had a partnership, he still kept it tight. And when it came to dislodging the tail, he was so ruthless and in that job, and there wasn't much resistance showed once. We always talk about this. There wasn't much resistance shown after Rassi and Aiden lost their wicket. 74 runs and 63. It might not look good on paper. You wanted one of them to score 100, and maybe if one of them scored a big 100, it would be in a different game as such. But that's the problem that I have here, is there's not a lot contributions altogether from the entire batting lineup. You'll have one good partnership, and then you'll see a bit of a collapse. And we're in trouble here, guys. We really in a bit of trouble here.
But do you think we're going to bounce back in the second test, or do you see another victory for Pakistan, or do you think they're going to look to draw the match to win the series against us?
Look, all three results are possible here. But looking at Karachi was slow and low and offered a lot of spin. Pindi, the second test match in Rawalpindi, that wicket obviously notorious for the seamers. It's a good wicket for the fast bowlers. So that's a sort of wicket that would obviously suit the Proteas bowling lineup, because they obviously have a lot of seamers. But my main concern at the moment is that middle order. There seems to be a lot of issues there. As I said, if you lose one brings two, and then two brings four, five in a heap. They've really got to bolster that batting. And getting back to Quinny now, this whole captaincy thing, I think it's really, really affecting his game. It's going to be difficult to actually change the captain during this tour, because I think that's going to be showing, a bit of a weakness to the opposition, that this team is really disjointed, and they really don't have a game plan at the moment. So I would think, just let this tour pass, and then, yeah, serious questions in terms of the captaincy. I think it really needs to go to someone else. I don't
Yeah,
think
but he's only a temporary captain. He's not a long-term choice. I mean, he
yeah,
knows he's
yeah.
only a temporary captain here. So I wonder who he'll be. I mean, I was thinking of maybe Keshav, but I don't know that. I know you're not a fan of that idea, but I think Keshav would be good because I know he's willingly put his hand up for that. So it'd be nice to see another Indian give it a shot. I know Hashim tried, and I don't think Hashim was given a fair chance at it. I think there was too much unfair pressure on him because of that India situation. So it'd be nice if Keshav gets given a chance. At least he's a willing captain. Hashim was an unwilling captain. So I think you never know.
Look, I'm definitely not one for giving Keshav that job, even if he might be enthusiastic about it. This all comes down to experience at the moment, and who's been there for a
Yeah,
while, and who's been there
yeah,
in the last sort of
yeah.
years when this team was actually successful. I'd give it to Elgar because I know Elgar's put his hand up, and he's one of the most consistent
Really?
batters at the moment in that
Yeah, he's
lineup. And
consistent, but I don't think
he's put
I
his hand
would
up for
prefer
that
to
job.
have. Really? Okay, I don't remember him putting up his hand, but okay, I guess.
Elgar,
But then there's also, I think Bavuma wouldn't be a bad idea because Bavuma is a bit of a fighter as well.
that he's a fighter, he's a hard character, he's gritty, and he's got a lot of experience behind his belt. So
Oh, yeah.
I would give it to him, and I don't see any other candidate at the moment that's quite worthy of that job, apart from Elgar at the moment. So Elgar
What
would
about
be good.
Rabada? What about Rabada?
Uh,
What about him being captain?
Not at this stage. Not at this stage. I would give it to Elgar because Elgar's obviously one of the most experienced players, and getting into this transition period now. Once the new captain obviously is going to be taken over after Elgar, that would be a quite smooth transition into the new
Okay.
captaincy. So at the moment, uh, I would say Elgar is the perfect candidate for that job.
Okay. So
Going forward.
you wouldn't consider someone like Bavuma because he does satisfy certain criterions.
Not at the moment. The reason being is there's a lot of players in that middle order actually fighting for their places at the moment. So that's
Oh, I
that's the
see.
issue here that we're dealing with, and I think the captain is the one that's really under pressure now with his form, and there has to
No,
be a
but
there
then
has to be a change of there has to be a
yeah,
change of mindset now going to that second test. We
so you
all know
don't
that
want
captaincy
to
has players.
yeah, but then you don't want to make any prediction for the second test. You think we're gonna win the next one, or you think Pakistan's gonna take it?
Look, I see an improved performance in that second game because obviously a lot of lessons will be learned from this test match. But gee, seriously, I think we need to bolster that batting lineup. You probably got to drop one
Yeah.
seamer. In my view, I think Ngidi probably is the one that's going to be left out of this test match. And if you really want to bolster that batting, I think you put a batting all rounder there. Uh,
Yeah.
Mulder wouldn't be a bad uh, selection if you want to really bolster that batting because I think the batting is a bit of an
Mm.
issue at the moment. Excuse
Mm.
me. Uh, uh, but I know they were keen on playing Shamsi, so I would think
Yeah.
Shamsi would probably get a game in that second test, definitely because he was injured for that first test. So you would see them
Yeah.
going in with three spinners. I would definitely see them going in with three spinners. But you know, I would still play Keshav and play Shamsi, and I drop Linda. And I got nothing against Linda or that sort, but I just
Yeah.
feel
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Keshav and
Yeah.
Linda
Yeah.
probably the same thing in terms of control, and
Yeah.
Shamsi a little bit more unorthodox. So he would
Yeah.
obviously be a surprise to
Yeah.
those batsmen. So yeah, I would bring in Shamsi and I'll drop Linda, and I would bring in Mulder for Ngidi because obviously, as I said, you're trying to bolster the batting at the moment. So Mulder would obviously strengthen that batting as an all-rounder. So yeah, you're going with six batters, an all-rounder, and you got four bowlers with Nokia, KG, Keshav, Shamsi, and you got Mulder as fifth bowler and the third seamer. I think that is probably a much more balanced side than the one that they played in the last game, because Mulder he's a genuine all-rounder. He is a genuine all-rounder. We've seen that first-class level and the runs that he scored for the Lions. So, yeah, he would slot into that lineup. So, to me, that would be the strongest team going into that second test in Pindi. Mindset definitely has to change. If they do win the toss and bat first innings is vital. You gotta bet once and you gotta bet big, and I mean big. 350, 400, even exceeding 400. You got to get runs on the board. I think if you make 400, in your first innings, you give your bowlers a chance to actually boss the game. You really give your bowlers a chance to actually boss the game. And if the other team is going to make 400, it's going to take them a very, very long time to actually get to 400. So you're, in a way, you're giving your bowlers a chance to attack. You're also taking time out of the game, which is very, very important in test matches. Taking time out of the game and wearing down wearing down the opponent. So to me, that should be the game plan in that second test.
Okay, so all right. So let me just do my quick prediction before we get to the next segment. I'm predicting once again Pakistan draw. The draw is that if SA win, that'll be. I mean, a draw. It'll actually be a drawn series. So, but in terms of the match result itself, maybe I'll say for this test match alone, Pakistan or SA, I think there'll be a result in the next one because it'll be suiting the steamness. So I don't expect a draw. So I think that'll be pretty much it into my prediction there. Pakistan draw. Pakistan and SA, both teams to win, and then that one.
I personally don't see a draw at all.
Reason being is that's why I said both teams to win there. I said both teams to win for that one.
Yeah, I guess if it's a draw, I mean, we don't really see a lot of draws these days in Test cricket. Let's be honest. Yeah, I think the last draw we saw was Delhi, and that pitch got better and better for batting. It's going to be a result-based game. I think both teams really have to go for it. I mean, you just can't sit around there and wait for things. They're going to make things happen. I mean, they 1-0 down the series. They got to try. And I think 1-1 would be a good result coming away from Pakistan. Drawing the 1-1 would be a good result.
That's true.
For a young side, a side in transition, we talk about all these things. I don't think you can make that excuse next time you go to Pakistan or go to Asia, because I think this side by then would be quite experienced playing in Asia, their second trip. So, undo the wrongs of the past. So I think 1-1 would be a good result. As I said, I gave you my team, and I think that's the team they actually go in with. 2 spinners, 3 quicks, because fast bowling is their strength. And I think Mulder, although he doesn't have the pace, I think he can bring a lot of control to that innings. Bowling those maidens, tying, really bowling tight lines and tying those batsmen down. So that would be crucial. I think if you can build pressure from both ends, I think that would be wonderful. So my prediction, I still think the Proteas can do it.
Okay.
Get a win in Pindi. It all depends on that first inning. So I could have went with 1-1 as prediction this series. So judging by what I've seen so far, and it's been a long time since we've seen cricket in Pakistan, and Karachi is quite a turner. It's a difficult pitch for overseas players to come in, obviously get their game in. So that would be a real lesson learned. So I hope that the first test was really a lesson. Lots of lessons were learned. It was a good lesson, and they would come out in that second test with a lot more positive mindset. Because honestly, there's actually nothing to lose at the moment. You might as well go for it and try and get the win at all. So I mean, if you lose the series 2-0, there's obviously going to be a lot more scrutiny. But it's you look at things as this is a side in transition and those sort of things. So I think if it can end 1-1, it will give them a lot of confidence coming home and playing Australia, which is actually a very, very big series for both teams. So, yeah, I'd go for 1-1.
Okay. All right. Now on to our next segment. After England's victory against Sri Lanka and India's victory against Australia, what are your thoughts now against these two powerhouses now going against each other, and who do you think really holds the aces here?
Wow, this is a good series. This series has a lot of potential to be a cracker, if not the cracker that we saw down under between us and India. So looking at the series, England obviously they would have a lot of confidence coming into this series after beating Sri Lanka, and albeit a really poor Sri Lankan side, if we put it that way. Not as consistent enough to win Test matches at the moment, unfortunately. I think their crickets obviously need some restructuring in terms of the domestic team, because I don't think they're producing as much quality cricketers as they used to in the past. They're in a rebuilding phase. We all know that, but the rebuilding phase has been going on for ever since Mahela and Kumar left that dressing room. We've been hearing about this rebuilding phase of Sri Lankan cricket. So England's the quality side. They've improved a lot in subcontinent conditions. Never really had a good track record in the past, but 2-0 in Sri Lanka, you take it, eh? You take it, because it's not easy to win Test matches in Asia against any team. So you'll take it. And getting back to that Indian team, they're really going to be strengthened now with Captain Kohli coming back into that lineup. Look at that reserve side, and then the wonders they did in Australia. Unbelievable series that they played in Australia, winning that series against all odds, and just show the depth in Indian cricket at the moment. Picking up practically an A side at the Gabba in that final test and getting over the line. We've spoke about it before in the earlier episode, and it was thrilling. It was thrilling for the neutral to watch to see what India achieved. It was momentous. But coming back home now and playing England, if I look at the series, especially in India, the toss is vital. Whoever wins the toss first, and that's really has such an advantage over the other team, because that the wickets they obviously get much worse for batting as time goes on. So first innings totals, you actually got to score big in the first innings, and once you score big, you give yourself to 60-70% chance of winning that game. It really takes a lot out of that the opposition. England would go in confidence, as I say, against Sri Lanka. After beating Sri Lanka, they do have a few expected players that we obviously got to look out for. One being Stokes. He can turn the game on when he needs to, in any conditions, and we've seen that before. So he'll be coming back to that lineup. That would be that would be a great addition for them. And then Burns coming up the order to partner. I think it's simply up the order. So he would obviously strengthen the top order, which I think didn't really fire in Sri Lanka, to be honest with you. I think it was Captain Root, Joe. He played two incredible knocks. So this guy, India have got to be wary of him, because he has an appetite for runs and big runs. So that's going to be crucial. But I think where India obviously has the edge here is how they obviously play spin. and you got the two spinners that are going to be bowling a lot of overs from England, which is Leach and Bess. So
Yes.
I mean, it's no surprise that Indian players do play spin quite superbly and better than most of the counterparts around the world. So I think that there's going to be one advantage, and their top order as well. I think both teams probably have, younger players, opening the innings, but India have got so much experience in the middle order, and I think that's going to be that might just prove too much in the end.
Okay. I'm just like, but there was a time when India were not very good against spin. I remember that time in England where they got bowled by Moeen Ali in both of those innings. So hopefully, I think they have become better from that period. But I think if England spin bowlers do a decent enough job, that's where the match will be quite exciting from the first test onwards. And then, what else am I going to say? But then I don't know. It's going to be quite an exciting series. I mean, hopefully India just bats first and makes about 400 runs plus runs, and then
Look,
yeah.
As I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
India obviously at home they are going to be favorites. Let's not
Yeah.
let's not change that. But England obviously they have an X factor playing in Stokes. As I say, X factor. I mean, he can come in and score quite quickly. And I think Pope is obviously coming into that middle order as well. So that's going to be sending the middle order. So it's going to be a battle of both batting lineups, to be honest with you. And who's going to be who can score more prolific in these test matches. But England, they obviously have, as I say, they have a player in Stokes that can get them over the line in one of those test matches. I do feel England are quite good enough to win one of those test matches in India.
Yeah.
However, I'm questioning if they can really sustain it over 4 tests. But that's really going to be the challenge. But I mean, this is probably one of the better sides that India will be facing. In the past year or two now, this is probably one of the better teams that India are facing in the series. So, they should not underestimate this England side by any means. So they've got as I say, they've got to score those runs in the first innings. I mean, whoever bats first, they've got to score those runs. But the Indian pace bowlers as well, man. I mean, they've improved so much.
Yeah.
It's amazing that a country that obviously favored spin bowling for so long, and they've produced such a great generation of quick bowlers in the last couple of years, and they can compete with the best lineups in terms of fast bowlers around the world. So that gives them an edge as well. Let alone their spin department. I mean, that obviously gives them an edge as well. So yeah, it's going to be quite an interesting battle. It's a difficult one it's a difficult one to gauge on the first test because anything's possible at the moment. So yeah, as I say, this is one of the better sides that India are playing for a very, very long time. This England side is quite well drilled. They're a decent team. They're a very, very good test match team.
Okay, but then if I had to press you for a prediction just for the first test alone, would you be able to pick?
I wish you'd ask me for prediction after the first 3 days.
Oh gosh, that's okay. I'm not gonna hold it against you. I think I'm gonna predict. Okay. For fun, you can choose 2 results. I'm gonna pick India or draw for the first test.
I would probably go along those lines as well, because as I say, it all depends on the wicket in Chennai. But in our recent history, you'd probably say it's a good batting stroke as well. So
yeah, I remember England collapsed on that final day because that pitch was a real roll. I remember that pitch. Hey.
So
Too many runs was scored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think England have the capabilities to win at least one test match, if not two. I mean, two
Yeah.
would be like outstanding for them to win two test matches. That would be
Yeah, but
like
India can't afford to give England even two, because if India do that, then
absolutely,
they'll probably be out of the Test
absolutely,
Championship. So if I was India, I would try
absolutely.
and I don't think I should encourage draws, but I don't think draws would go against India too much. It'd be more like if they give away even one win. So I think they should rather focus on, if they can't win, just bet like Faf du Plessis or Pajara. Okay, okay, well, I do have Pajara in the team, but they just bet like anything just to block it out if they can't win a match. Just have a boring, drawn-out series if they could. But no, they'll win matches along the way. But if you can't win, just draw. Simple as that.
I think that's the last thing we want is four drawn test matches. I mean,
No,
that
it
would
won't
just
happen. In
like
India, you gotta have a couple of wins along the way. Even if they win 2-0, that's fine. Even if they win 2-0, that's fine. Just don't give one win away.
absolutely,
Because they
absolutely.
got to qualify for the Test Championships. Even though it'll be very weird. Imagine having a Test Championship without England in the finals. India and New Zealand. Who would have thought that?
Look,
Oh, yeah.
it just goes to show there's so much at stake here. There is so much at stake in the series. I mean, as you said, if India draw the series, I mean, they're out of the Test Championship. I mean, Australia can force their way into that Test Championship. So there is so much at
Oh
stake.
yeah, I forgot about them. I forgot about Australia. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think yeah, I think on a final note, I think it all depends on now on us as well. Because if we can beat Pakistan, then we go back home with some confidence, and then we're playing a Australian team that's really got it all to do. Let's not beat around the bush on that. Then I think if we can at least draw the series against Australia, then I think we should seal the fate for New Zealand and India. And I think, obviously, my prediction, if I have to predict the whole series in whole, I think India will win against England probably 3-4-0. That's my prediction in advance.
yeah, look, it's going to be interesting. Eh? It's very, very going to be interesting. As I said, this England side is not a side to be taken lightly. They've really, really improved. They're very, very improved. I personally don't think it's going to be 4-0 at all. As I said,
I said 3 or 4-0 between the two.
I would think along the lines of maybe 2-1 or 3-1, possibly. I would say
maybe 3-1 because India can win 3-1 and they'll still qualify.
Probably
so
3-1.
Okay. 2-1 will not be enough.
Probably 3-1.
Yeah.
You know, as I say, that first test is obviously going to set the tone. Because if we get a drawn test match where both teams score huge, we're not really going to grasp a lot from what really is going to happen. We're not really going to grasp a lot, because I think both teams would probably go into that second test. If the first test ends in a draw, I think both teams are going to go into that second test belief that they can win it. So I think the real challenge for India is if they fall 1-0 behind in the series, that's going to be an issue. It's really, really going to be an issue for them. So they need to avoid that at all costs, falling behind, because we've seen England. England is a side that really generally don't start off slow. I mean, don't start off well. They're very slow starters, and we saw it in the series played here in SA, where they looked a bit scratchy in that first two tests, and then winning that second test in dramatic fashion that they did after winning a test match in Cape Town for over 50 years plus. I mean, that was a ground that they really didn't win test matches at all, and that gave them so much momentum. So, to me, England are a team that has momentum. They're a side that builds, that thrives on momentum. And the same thing applies to India as well. You've got both sides here that really are good cricket teams, a good test match team that thrive on momentum. So, it's all down to momentum. And I think India need to be very wary of not giving England momentum in the series, because they are side, when they have momentum, they really can push home their advantage.
Okay, all in all, it should be a great series, and thanks so much for your time, my friend.
Thanks, sir. Chat to you soon. Cheers.
Sure, man.